Hey guys, welcome to another one of my videos. My name is Kong Lee. I'm a real estate agent and a life insurance agent. Today, I wanted to come and talk to you guys a little bit about comparing self-investing into a SP 500 versus buying an IUL, which is invested in a SP 500 index as well. So I've had this thought in my head for a while and see, yeah, hey, what is the difference? Because every time I talk about an IUL, I always get uh, the question of, hey, why don't I just invest myself and save me all that fees? So why don't people invest by themselves? A lot of time it's just because they don't have the knowledge, right? They don't have the knowledge or they don't have the time to learn it and then be confident enough in themselves to invest and know when the right timing is to invest or what to invest in, actually. Also, just security because investing, like always, like anything, it's always a gamble. There's nothing that's for sure um, a guarantee that you will make a profit out of. So that's why a lot of people don't invest by themselves. And those are the people who I would say, hey, if you want a passive investment, then you could try an IUL, which is a life insurance policy, and it shouldn't be looked at an investment, but it can be invested and you can accumulate money from it. So when I sell an IUL, if you guys don't know what an IUL is, it's an index universal life insurance policy. It's an annual renewable term policy, and it's considered a permanent life insurance policy. So what it does is it takes your premium, and then it buys a term life insurance. And on top of that, it accumulates cash by investing the rest into the index. So that's why I get the question a lot about, hey, why don't I just buy myself a term life insurance and invest into the SP 500 myself? Because if I buy a 30-year term insurance right now, the premium is going to be super cheap and that's going to be going on for 30 years. And within that 30 years, I could take all that money instead of putting into the IUL and paying all that fees. I could put that money into just buying a stock like the SP 500 stock every year, right? So I wanted to take a look at it, run the numbers, and again, I'm not the smartest person in the world. I'm not great at math. I'm letting the calculator do all the mathing for me. Um, and so this is not financial advice or legal advice at all. This is just me going over my thoughts and putting the things together just to see how do they compare. So here we have is the SP 500. I just took all these interest rates here on this side from the internet from the last 30 years, right? So it says, hey, these are the last 30 years. Let's pretend that we invested $300 every year for the past 30 years. What will we gain from all of that? As you can see, the SP 500 has gained, and if you started with zero at $300 every year, you're going to end up with $35,000 here, right? So here's your graph to say, hey, you started here at zero for the last 30 years. This is what you came up with is at $35,000. Very cool. So consistently, if you did invest into the SP 500, you will profit. And I know a lot of people that just do that. Hey, I'm an investor. I just invest into the SP 500. I just buy every year and hold it. I don't do anything, don't change anything. That's all I do. Put money in, whether it's up or down. Next, we're going to say, hey, one selling point of the IUL is, IUL, we have floors and caps, right? So if the market ever goes down, you're not losing because we're guaranteed that we're going to give you a profit. And but then at the same time, if the market goes up, we are going to cap the amount of gain you can get on your investment. So let's take a look at that tab. I call it IUL min and max. So if we actually did the IUL and we did $300 every year, the same as we did with the SP 500, but now we are capped and floor. The IUL is the blue one. We can see that at the very end, we end up with $33,000, which is less than just investing in the SP 500 itself, right? So what happened there? Why are we $2,000 short, even though we are guaranteed not to lose? If you could look at the graph here, I mean, we start out pretty good, and then we are very good throughout this point here. But you can see a spike in the SP 500 here, a sharp decline and another spike. So that's why the cap, it does limit your growth, right? If we go back and look at the SP 500, we see growth that are like 2, 3 times more than our cap, right? Remember, our cap is at 11.5%, and that is why. So if we take a look, go back to the IUL, and we look at these numbers, yes, we're not going negative, but the SP 500, it goes positive more than it goes negative. So that's why, hey, at the end of the day, we're not gaining as much as the um, SP 500, especially over here when we have a lot of money in it already. If it goes up high, um, then yeah, we'll lose in terms of pacing in that way, in that case. But again, let's take a look at how the IUL is actually illustrated, right? The IUL doesn't, when we illustrate an IUL to a client, we're not showing all these adjusted interest or in percent change over here. We're not doing that. What the illustration does, it just gives you a very linear growth. So let's take a look at this, right? So in the illustration itself, it says, hey, we're not going to take account to whatever all happened in the past. We're just going to say, hey, what was the last 10 years? What was the average of the last 10 years? And we're just going to show our growth linearly, saying that, hey, every year it's going to be 6.7% growth, right? So that's going to be this blue line here. And as you can see, the more money you get, the faster it goes up. But in the end, we're still at 33,500 here. So we're still not doing as well as the SP 500, even though the SP 500 have a lot of loss, right? So we're showing that, hey, IUL, the floor and the cap has not outgrown the SP 500, nor has the linear illustration that we usually do with the IUL. It still hasn't outgrown the regular SP 500. The IUL has a bunch of fees associated with it, right? So you can see here, there's a premium expense charge. There's a cost of insurance. How much does your insurance cost every year? And again, being an annual renewable life insurance policy, it is increasing every single year, right? To an amount that it's even more than your premium here. And then there's an expense charge on top of that too. So when we say, hey, we're going to invest $300 per year into the SP 500, our premium really has to be $500 in order to put in the $300 into the SP 500. All right, so you're putting in a lot more money here. But let's take a look. Let's say, hey, blend it together, right? Blend it together so that we get the caps and the floors, the actual interest rate, and including all the fees of the IUL and see what happens here. So the IUL actual. So you see here, we're putting in all the amount of the interest rate per year. Let's put in all the floors and the caps, and then all the money that you are investing into the IUL or into the SP 500 here. And as you can see, it goes down every year because the annual renewable term, right? The term policy, it increases every single year as well. So the the money that you're putting into the SP 500 decreases every year. In term overall, our investment will grow to $23,000, way less than just investing into the SP 500 itself, right? It's just saying, hey, what if I bought an IUL 30 years ago? Where would I be now today? You're going to be at $23,000, but you're still in the money. But remember now, if you're looking at the amount invested per year from your premium, it's going lower into the negative, right? And that's being taken away from your investment growth, right? So whatever you have in your cash account, that's being taken away from there every single year, and your premium. What happened between the IUL and the SP 500? As the SP 500 continues to grow, let's take a look here. It goes up and down, right? But then there's a big separation gap here because of the caps that's put on the IUL. And the good thing with the IUL, if after 30 years, yeah, you have the $24,000 here plus your $100,000 death benefit still. So you're still looking really good. But if you do the SP 500 in this case, you're going to end up with just $35,000 and no life insurance policy because your term life has expired already. You're 60 years old, right? So if you want to buy a whole life policy, that's going to be $300 for what, $100,000 or something like that, and maybe even more. And it's going to be very expensive because you're 60 years old at that time. What if you just bought a final expense policy, $25,000? Final expense policy will cost you about $187 at that point. So we'll go over here, right? $184. Let's say if you live 15 years after that, you're negative $33,000. So basically, all the profit that you got from your SP 500 self investment will be gone within half the time that you've been investing. Okay, so overall, where does this get you? The SP 500 and your investment will get you the $35,000, right? But then you got to take away the amount of the term life insurance, which is about $4,000. And then from there, you take away your taxes, whatever tax bracket you are. Let's say you're just in the medium tax bracket, 15%. That's going to be another $5,000. So at the end of the day, you're left with $25,000 with really no life insurance cover. So with the IUL, after 30 years, you're left with this $24,000 here. And then you still have your life insurance policy, right? So really, at the end, if you do pass away at that time or anytime after that, you still have $100,000 plus your cash value for your death benefit in order to leave behind to your kids. Besides that, the IUL is powerful because you can borrow against your cash value, right? And that's all tax free. All of this profit here, it's not like the SP 500. Well, you'll be taxed at the end for your gain. But here it's a life insurance policy and it's tax free. And so you could always borrow against it, pull money against your cash value whenever you need it. And if you don't pay it back at the end, they just take it away from your death benefit. Besides that, there's living benefits as well, where if you fall sick and you can't work anymore, then you can pull from your death benefit to actually cover whatever your living expenses are, whatever it is. Like, for example, treatment for cancer, or any transplant or anything like that. And lastly, with the IUL, you can still overfund the policy. What we have here is just a target premium. Basically, is like the mid range of what you should pay for your policy in order for it to not lapse, right? If you overfund the policy, the cash value will just grow even more and it will grow faster. But you got to be careful how much you overfund the policy. If you overfund it too much, then it becomes a MEC policy, and then you will be taxed on the gain for that. But you could always look at the policy. It will always show you through the illustration, hey, what is the maximum amount you can contribute to this policy per year? So to wrap this up, those are the numbers that we got, right? The SP 500 did show the best growth, the most money at the end. But remember, you're stuck with just that, the SP 500, what your profit is there. And then at the end, you lost all the premium that you put into a term life insurance, saying that you didn't pass away within that 30 years, and you outlive that term life insurance policy. But with the IUL, you still have your $100,000 death benefit, and that plays a crucial role into what you can do with it over time. Okay, so lastly, I wanted to add this, right? So what's going to happen after that 30 years? What if you continue to invest instead of just 30 years over the 50 years, right? So after 30 years, let's pretend you're 60 years old. At 50 years, you pass away at 80. If you continue to just invest into the SP 500, what you end up with is down here, 117. $117,000, you put in $15,000, right? So that's very good for a return, $15,000. Your investment grows to 115 over 50 years. What I did actually here is I just copied the first 20 years and added on to the end here, because I mean, we don't really know what's going to happen. I've only looked back over the 30 years, and I just figured, hey, let's just restart it. Hopefully that gives us an idea of the SP 500. And then we'll do the same thing with the IUL as well, extended IUL. So let's take a look here. As we go with the IUL, as you can see, your fees get higher and higher, right? To eventually, it's going to be more than your premium. But then that gets taken away from your cash value, and your cash value will grow faster than that. So it continues to grow. At the end of your 50 years of investing into the IUL, you're left at 59,000. So that's like half the amount of the SP 500. But let's take a look at the overall picture, right? Overall, you get, your 59,000 plus your death benefit. I'm going to take away our IUL premium. Again, in the premium, that's what you pay every month. So that includes all the fees involved in the IUL, as well as the money that gets invested into the index. Remainder, it's going to leave you with $131,000. It's not like you're going to get a check at the end of the day for 131. You will still get your death benefit, but we're just taking away a premium, saying, okay, really, at the end of the day, we are going to get $131,000. For the second scenario here, let's say if you bought a final expense policy after that 30 years, because at 60, most likely you won't get a term life insurance anymore. But most people will get like a final expense policy. Final expense can be anywhere from $25,000 to $35,000, and the cost will differ. In this case, we're saying, hey, the cost is going to be around $170 a month. So we say our gross from our SP 500 minus the money that we've put in the SP 500, right? Because we did the premium the same as the IUL. And then we're going to minus the final expense policy. We're going to add the final expense death benefit back onto our profit. And then we take away the tax. And then remember, we have that 30-year term life premium that we've been paying, and now it's not worth anything, right? So At the end of the day, you're going to get $61,000. What if we were healthy enough at 60 to buy a whole life policy, right? So whole life policy of $100,000, it's going to be $73,000 for that 20-year term, right? So we did the same thing. The money you put in, your premium for your whole life policy, taxes, and then your term policy, which will give you $106,000 at the end. And then we'll go, what if we just didn't buy any life insurance after that and we just kept our profits, right? So we're just going to do our money put in, our tax, and then our term life insurance, we get $80,000. So overall, the IUL still outgrows or out benefit the other option that we have. And in terms of like cash on cash return, I mean, you're only putting $28,000 in. At the end of the policy, you get $131,000 back. While the other one, you're putting in a lot more, right? So you have your premiums and the money that you put into the SP 500, close to $65,000 there. This is like $90,000 there. So a lot more return on your investment with the IUL. Again, the IUL is not, again, we shouldn't look at the IUL as an investment opportunity, even though it's very good at investing. It is just a life insurance policy. The people who choose the IUL do it because it's more hands off. You only pay the premium every month and then it automatically gets invested for you into whatever index that you want it to be. Or the other scenario, and you're doing self-invest, is like, what do you want to choose to invest in? You can, and it's open, right? For the whole stock market, you can get whatever you want. But the SP 500 is the most common stocks for beginning investors to invest in just because it shows a growth over time. Well, that wraps everything up. Again, just going through my thoughts in my head about the SP 500 and the IUL. If you have any comments, feel free to leave them down below. I'll go through all of them and hopefully learn a lot from you guys as well. I hope you guys got something to take away from this video, and I'll see you next time.